And welcome back to another episode, everyone, of the Business is Pleasure podcast with the cool, sophisticated, very dapper Jonelle, which is myself, and Colette. I'm sure you guys are all aware of her already. I'm joking. She's beautiful, intelligent, and most importantly, mine. So this last week or so that we've had has been all over the place. We've been busy. We've been really relaxed. We actually just came from a vacation. So I think the best way to start off this show and every other show is, how was your week, Colette?
So my week was good. Mm-hmm. My week was really busy, but busy's good. Busy's nice.
Yeah.
So a couple weeks ago, we've been pretty busy. We've been a little bit delayed on our podcast schedule, but it was because we've been kind of preoccupied with so many events and whatnot. Mm-hmm. So we had our first event of the year, which was Tyler's party.
Yeah, which was surprisingly really successful and everything, which was nice. It allowed us to really communicate to a different demographic, but that still appreciates the clothing that we do try to sell. Yeah. And also it just allowed us to actually make some cash.
Yeah. And then, so from that point on was just events back to back to back, pretty much. So our first event after that was a sneak peek in Montreal, which was actually pretty good. It was great, actually. I love Montreal, so it was nice to go back for a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. Especially like all the culture, the people, and like the community that's in Montreal. It's really, really nice. At Sneak Peek, I think we really handled ourselves well because it wasn't the biggest event. Yeah. But I think like per capita, we've made probably the most money ever at one event. Mm-hmm. Just the simple fact that audience, they really appreciate good quality clothing. And also the Off-White did amazing for us. Like, we sold an amazing amount of vintage pieces, but then we had the Off-White pieces. So it was really able to get people's attention, draw them in. So that leave it some Off-White, leave it some vintage.
Yeah. And one thing that we've kind of said this whole time about, Off-White and kind of branching out into more like contemporary or newer brands. It's just the fact that it helps bring more eyes and like more attention to all of our other vintage stuff. So before, when we didn't have Off-White or like other contemporary stuff, people that weren't interested in vintage would just keep passing by. But now that we do have the variety of the two, it allows people who are interested in, say, Off-White or just contemporary stuff, they'll come in and then maybe browse through some of our vintage stuff as well. Whereas, like, before, they wouldn't have even stopped to take a look regardless.
Exactly. And it's nice, too, because that opportunity that they go to our store for, like, 3 seconds, and now gives us a chance to be like, hey, have you heard about our company? Yeah. So if we don't use it as a point to sell clothing, we use it as an opportunity to introduce the company to people. Mm-hmm. I think that's always important, right? Because you can't always expect that to make a dollar from everyone. It would be nice. Don't get me wrong, it would be nice, But there are going to be some times where you have to use it as a marketing opportunity just to give yourself a bit more exposure.
And at the end of the day, it makes our booth look booming.
So. Yeah. That's always important. It's crazy how, like, people always have that idea that, hey, if there's a lot of people there, I should be there as well too, right?
Yeah, it's like when you walk into a store, you're at the mall, if you see a store that's empty, you're like, okay, there's no deals, the prices are bad, everything's overpriced, and you keep walking. If you see a store that has like a lineup outside and like, people moving in and out, you're going to be like, oh, like what's going on in there? Let me take a look. Clearly there's something good that's going on.
Oh, no, most definitely. Okay, so recently we actually just came from our vacation. My mom actually had her 50th birthday. So shout out to you, Mom. Love you. And it was interesting because for those 7 days, we were on this cruise ship and it was a struggle to find like internet connection or Wi-Fi. So we had to find really strategic ways that we could still remain relevant within the business and just keep ourselves busy and everything, right? Mm-hmm. So for yourself, when we were on the cruise, what do you think was like the hardest thing you found when it came to like trying to continue routine even though you weren't at home?
I think just not being able to post every single day. So like for me and you as well, like we have a routine. For me, it's I wake up in the morning and I give myself like 10 minutes and then I just post on all of our apps, our selling apps that we use. I just post and go into it right away. But yeah, it was just kind of a weird adjustment getting around the fact that I couldn't do that all the time. and I had to just wait to post when I could post, which was usually when we were on land for a period of time, which was like, it was fine too, but it also like, I kind of had to get out of the mindset of like, I felt like I was missing out constantly. Like, I felt like there were so many things that I'm like, okay, well, I'm not able to respond to this person right away, or like, I'm not able to post right away. I'm not able to post daily or post twice daily like we usually do. But at the same time, I think we did a really good job at keeping ourselves busy and preoccupied, like doing the other things that we could do without having access to Wi-Fi. So we talked a lot about the business. We did a little bit of small like strategy sessions here and there in reference to like our marketing plan and whatnot.
And what we do when we actually get back to Canada, what we should work on and everything too, right?
Exactly. And like, I was able to work on my business plan for my other business, and you were able to do stuff for yourself personally as well. So I think it was, overall, I wouldn't go on a cruise again. But
I would give the cruise one more chance, but
No.
I think I would want it more so like with my group of friends rather than with family.
No. I might go on a cruise when I'm 65, but I feel like when I'm 65, I'll still be way too like energetic and like, yeah, it's for people who just want to lounge around and relax and not do anything for 7 days, and I'm just not that type of person. And
well, now you're not.
I'm never going to be that type of person. I don't care.
Okay, I hear that.
I don't care. I'm never going to be that type of person. So, but yeah, overall, I think we made use of our time the best that we could. And I think we know going forward that maybe at this point in our like business and whatnot, it's not ideal to take a vacation where we won't have access to Wi-Fi.
And that's the thing though, it's like we never knew that going forth, because we had this like crazy strategy that when we get there, we're gonna get these things done.
We had a plan,
like, which was really good for us, but when we actually got there, we weren't able to execute the plan because one of the most important parts was missing, which was the Wi-Fi. For me, the one thing I think I struggled with the most was just like for our social media, the consistency that we were having every day, messaging people, getting contacts, getting new leads, and just like trying to bring value to the community in different ways. And then while we're away, like we couldn't do any of that because of course there was no Wi-Fi. And like it's crazy because when you look at the insights on our Instagram, they like fell.
Yeah, they're like 50%.
Yeah, they fell really, really bad. So like one, it goes to show, okay, things that we were doing before were working. So I think that's the one positive we can take from it. And second, it's just like consistency is really the key. Like, as much as we can be consistent as possible, it will lead to success. And that's one thing I'm just really trying to focus on, instead of focus on the negative aspect of like being away for so long.
And like, there's gonna be ups and downs to everything, to business, to our events, to selling, or like the profitability of the apps that we're using, and the eyes that we're getting from that. There's going to be ups and downs to everything, and I think the most important thing is to be adaptable and to maintain consistent. Because for example, like we've had like so many events that maybe weren't the greatest turnout, or we've been to events that didn't have the greatest turnout, or like weren't necessarily the right clientele or demographic, but we still maintained consistency in the sense that we still interact with people, we still engage with people. We never use the chairs provided for us. We're always standing. We're always interacting with people, talking to people, trying to engage them as much as we possibly can. So I think both of us overall, like, we're good at making the best of whatever the situation is.
No, most definitely. That's what you have to do, right? And business is all about adaptability. We're trying to ensure that whatever situation that you're put in, how can you properly like mold your personality around that for the best results as possible?
Yeah, no, for sure. And then I think for this week, one of the things that, not this week, but I guess just generally going forward, one of the things that I really want to work on to kind of help with like our adaptability and our, consistency, especially with events and just interacting with people in general through social media, is just getting a better understanding of like the history of our product sometimes. Because I think it's a really good and useful selling point to customers, especially at events when I can say something really cool and interesting and unique about, you know, a particular item.
Yeah.
So I think at the end of the day, especially with vintage, like, that's what attracts people to vintage.
It's like you're telling that story. It's about nostalgia, right?
Yeah.
And if you can be a lot more confident within the item, it makes the person not purchasing a lot more comfortable.
Yeah.
They're like, oh man, I didn't know about this about the brand. I didn't know this about the quality.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and also just kind of reassures the idea that is Clarendon Co. that we always try to give the best quality items and everything.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. And just like having that knowledge and being like the expert for our own product, right? Like I think it's kind of difficult sometimes because we go through stuff so quickly.
Yeah.
And we like, you know what I mean? Like every like event we have basically like 70% of our stuff is new. So it's like sometimes people like, you know, they'll be looking through the racks and like point something out to me and they'll be like, oh man, like this brand, blah blah blah, like telling me like this, that, and the other,
yeah.
and I'm trying to like talk to them about it as if I already knew that, but I didn't. You know what I mean?
You know, sometimes it'll be light on your feet. Though,
I just
right?
picked it up because it was cool, but like I didn't know it had all that. I'm like jacking up the price a bit. It turns out it's something interesting, but yeah, I just want to know more about our product, not necessarily to charge more or anything like that, just to have like a better like repertoire with like our customers and have just better engagement, better interaction, and then obviously that intel is gonna drive our sales up.
No, 100%, and that's always really important too, right? Because once the customers see that we're actually passionate, we care about each individual product, it'll definitely help a lot. But one thing we also have to understand is that, like what we were saying today, is like we kind of have an idea of the products that we should always get.
Yeah.
So it's like as long as we kind of know what our previous products were, then we can always know like the selling points for the new products, because they're essentially going to be somewhat similar.
Generally the same.
Yeah. But I think there will be like those couple one-off items where we're like, oh crap, like this is really unique. Like, you know, how should we talk about that?
Like even the other day when we were searching for our new inventory and you found that like flannel shirt.
No, Pendleton. Yeah,
and like I had never heard about that brand before. So that's something that like I learned, and then when I go to pick on my own when you're not there, I'm gonna look for stuff like that too.
Exactly. And it's kind of cool though. That's one of the things I really do enjoy about picking as well, is that you learn about brands through other brands.
Yeah.
You know, because I learned about Pendleton through Woolrich. Because they're both like outdoor companies, stuff like that.
Outerwear,
yeah, exactly. So it's like when you Google Woolrich, Pendleton will come up. So it's like always need to kind of like doing your little background research and things like that and figuring out like, oh crap, well, this is a brand that's similar to that one. I'm sure the audience will like this item as well too, right?
Yeah, for sure. And I think it also depends on like, I think some of our knowledge and information caters towards different events.
Oh, 100%.
More so?
100%.
Because like at events like Sneak Peek, it's just kind of like, you know, a younger demographic that's just kind of into whatever's cool and new and interesting right now, whether that be cool and new in the sense of like vintage or cool and new in the sense of like contemporary stuff. But when we do other events like the Toronto Vintage Clothing Show or the Ottawa Vintage Clothing Show or like CAFCAD, like those types of things, I feel like at those events it's an older demographic, so they want to know the history, they want to
and it's more conversational too.
Much more conversational. They want to like have a relationship with you, as opposed to at some of the other events that are generally not necessarily bigger, but just like I said, a younger demographic. They mostly just want to get what they want and go.
And I feel like the younger demographic, they're so educated about the product, so you don't need to necessarily like explain to them what it is.
Yeah, exactly.
Where with the older demographic, they're still as educated, but they enjoy the whole customer service experience. I think a bit more anyway.
And also too, like a younger demographic, a lot of the times I find when they're shopping at events like that we go to, so like the sneaker events and whatnot, they're looking for like specific things.
No, definitely. And that's why like there's such like a parallel between the vintage and the contemporary stuff that we have, because with the vintage stuff, it's like you're looking for that nostalgia. You want something that reminds you of a certain thing, right? But where it comes to the contemporary items, sometimes it's like what's cool, what's hip, what's in right now, you know what I mean? Despite the style or the color of the item or something like that, you know? It's literally like, okay, what's the brand?
Exactly.
This is cool, I'm gonna rock with it.
Okay, cool. What's the price? Okay, cool, I can deal with that.
Yeah.
Thanks.
No, 100%, right? So that's why, again, it goes back to like being adaptable and like making sure our personalities fit our demographics. Because remember when we went to New York and we were like really surprised to see that how we interacted how we would interact with people in Toronto, we couldn't do that in New York.
Couldn't.
Like,
It was completely different. It was straight to the point, cut and dry. No, hey, how are you? Or have you heard of the Clarendon Trading Company or not before?
No.
None of that.
There's no time for that.
None of that. They didn't have any time for that. They're just like, okay, what is it? What price? Okay, cool. Yes, no, or buy.
Yeah. Like in Toronto, the people aren't that harsh.
Yeah.
But like the demographic, there is a bit of difference. So we have to like realize that difference and be like, okay, like let's again mold our personalities to the demographic
and adapt to that as much as possible.
Yeah. I think that's important, right? It's like what we said at the beginning of the podcast. Like that's what business is. Yeah. That's literally like you find a problem. How do you figure out the problem now so you can solve it? That's what the most important thing is, right? Exactly. So in terms of like solving problems, our new board, what do you think about it exactly and how we've been able to like really compartmentalize the different things?
I think our new board is great. I really like the fact that it allows us to have, I think it's helped with our communication.
Oh, that's literally the first thing I was going to say. Because we're talking through the board.
We're talking through the board. It's also divided into sections. So we know like a section for sales, a section for anything that's to be done, a section for like anything that we're currently talking about right now or currently in the works right now, and then a section for stuff for our podcasts and stuff that we feel is relevant that we want to share with everyone. So I think it's definitely helped us kind of organize our thoughts individually and then of course again have better communication between each other.
Yeah, and I really like it too because like now it allows us both to be accountable. So it's like when something sells and I'm like the person that drops it off or ships it out, I should let you know because that's going to allow the account to become more streamlined and just easier for yourself, right?
Yeah.
But if I don't do step 1, then step 3 is just all it like goes like all crazy and everything, you know what I mean?
I think it's definitely helped with organization for sure. Are there any other things that you think we could do to help with our organization at all?
I don't think there's things that we need to do in terms of our organization. I think for the most part we're good. But what I would like to see, and I was thinking about to do, the speed in which that we do things. You know what I mean? I've realized like with us, we'll be like, okay, like let's do our marketing. We get all those things done, but it's always like 2 weeks after the deadline. So I want to find a way how we can like keep one another accountable. Be like, okay, like, hey, we said we're gonna have 4 podcasts in this month. Why did we only get 2 done? Like we will get the 4 done, but it's like, why are we like slacking back on this? You know what I mean?
I think like we just need to be more honest with each other and like put our personal feelings aside and like our personal like wants and desires aside for the time being. Like for example, today I'm really tired and like I would rather be sleeping right now, but I know that like the podcast needs to get done, you know? And I think like that was kind of like my way of holding myself accountable or like say for example if like we want to like go out or do something but we know we have the podcast to do, like we should put the podcast as a priority. But or like if we're working on the marketing plan and like
just anything, whatever we're working on. Like I said, like completing products isn't our problem. Completing them on time is.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like at the end of the day, like it applies to everything and anything in our 100%. Business, but we need to again hold each other accountable in reference to time. Like
so what are some things you think that we could do? Maybe like check in like just every 3 days, every 4 days or something?
Just like maybe like revert back to the board that we made every 2 days or so. And like assess our benchmark. So it's like, okay, we said we're gonna have a written marketing plan done by this date. Have we started it yet? If we haven't started it yet, do we have a day to sit down to work on it together laid out? Like, is it realistic that this, you know, item that we have written on the board, is it realistic that it's gonna get done? So like I think those types of things, like we both kind of need to just check in with like ourselves and each other to make sure that we're both kind of on the same page and we're both like dedicating the time. If we need to work together on something, we're working together on it.
Because I feel like what we'll do, we'll see like an event coming up, because right now we're holding like the event on the hierarchy of importance at the top. So that, oh well, we have the event to do, we have to get all these things in order, so like, you know, let's push this down to the bottom of the list, which is fine, but I want to get away from that where we're like, okay, we've already known a month in advance that the event is coming, why don't we have these things in order already?
And at the end of the day, we've done tons of events.
Yeah, so like we kind of have like our system down for that. Exactly.
We know what to do. It's not something that really requires a whole ton of preparation and planning. Well, even though at one event we forgot to bring hangers.
Oh my gosh, that was our first event though, right?
No, it was Montreal. It was our second.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
We drove all the way to Montreal and realized that we didn't have hangers.
Yeah. But again, about being adaptable, we had like an amazing plan. One of our new models is that we'll find a solution, then we'll complain about what we did wrong.
Yes.
So what we did, we were like, oh shit, we forgot the hangers, right? Was there something else that we forgot as well?
We forgot the hangers and
the
we
bags.
forgot the bags, yeah.
Yeah, we forgot the hangers and the bags. So the bags were a write-off because there was no way we could find them on time. Mm-mm. So what our plan was that we decided to Google where there was a Walmart in Montreal, went there quickly, bought like almost 150 hangers.
Yeah.
And the best part about it, guys, wait for it, returned them after.
Shh, don't tell Walmart.
So there was no extra cost at all associated with it.
I don't want Walmart to find me.
They're listening, man. They're always listening.
Don't tell Walmart. Okay, guys, please.
Yeah, but again, right? It's always about like there's gonna be a problem, become adaptable, fix that issue. And I think one of the major issues that we had also was like we had a problem maybe like a year and a half ago selling, but we were able to find like the best apps that work for us.
Adaptability.
Exactly. So in terms of like the apps that you think work best for us, which are some of like your favorite that you like the most?
My personal favorites are the like apps based in Toronto, because even though like I think it's great that we ship like internationally and to like the States and whatnot, I think that's great. I really am like proud of the culture and just the overall community of like vintage sellers and vintage markets that's developing in Toronto, and I'm proud that we're a part of it. So like I do have more of a bias towards the local apps.
And which ones are some of your favorite?
So I really enjoy Let Go.
Okay, Let Go is so nice because like for me it's one of the most efficient ones, and it's just straight to the point. Picture, description, done. Easy to post.
There's no like requirement for like, oh, we don't accept this type of brand, or oh, your pictures aren't good enough, or whatever the case may be. It's really straight to the point, which I enjoy a lot.
Yeah.
And I think one thing I noticed through Let Go is that a lot of people they don't ask a lot of questions.
Yeah.
A lot of times with Let Go, I feel like all the information is easily like readable for the buyer, and they can see everything at one time, as opposed to some of the other apps. People will be like, "What's the size?" And I'm like, "It's right there."
Yeah, come on, man.
Yeah,
what's going on?
They'll ask stuff where it's like you should be able to see that. So yeah, Let Go is my favorite. My second favorite, I would say, would be Grailed, just because again, it's easy to use, easy to post.
But even though it's not local, the thing I like about Grailed is that one, prices are in USD. So that means we're making like a little extra $3-4 an item.
Thanks, America.
Yeah, 100%. And also I like it how it's like perfect for our brand because it has the vintage and the contemporary stuff, right?
The only drawback with Grailed is that I don't like the fact that I can't post like specifically women's items.
Because so we're limited just for men's clothing, right?
Yeah, it is like a men's selling app. But I try to kind of get around it sometimes by posting stuff that I feel as if could be unisex, and I mark it as that. So if there does happen to be some like women on the app that want to like a boyfriend fit or something a little bit oversized, they may find something as well, because that's also really current right now.
Yeah, exactly.
But I can't post like leggings or like a skirt,
a velvet dress,
or a velvet dress or something like that. So that's the only thing that is slightly limiting though. So what about you? What's your next favorite app?
My next favorite app after that is actually not an app. It's actually Facebook Markets. Because the thing I like about Facebook Markets is that you can literally join so many different groups, whether it be in Montreal, in Detroit, or here in Toronto, and just like really communicate directly to those people.
Yeah.
And there's also no selling fees. There's no limit on how much you can put there.
Yeah.
And and it's not really strict.
No.
So that's a good and a bad thing, because some of the groups it's like literally like just everything in there, and then there are other groups where it's just like so specific, strictly Hypebeast, strictly Supreme, strictly Off-White, and that's what I like. And also it's like there are over 1 billion people on Facebook, right? So it really allows us to introduce ourselves to such a larger audience and everything.
Yeah,
right?
and a variety of different demographics.
No, 100%. And I guess we can flip it on the other side. What are your 2 least favorite ones?
So my least favorite app, I'd say, is an app called Vestiaire Collective.
Oh my gosh.
So Vestiaire Collective is an interesting app because I think that they market themselves as being like a high-end
secondhand
vintage. So they're more targeted to like Gucci and Versace and stuff. So like I'll try to post like Polo, Ralph Lauren, or like Tommy Hilfiger, those types of things. And I go through the whole, posting process.
Which is extremely long.
Extremely
it's like 5
long.
times the length of Legos.
Extremely long. And then like a day later, which is so annoying to wait, a day later they'll be like, sorry, but your item has... No, they don't even say sorry.
Your item has not been selected.
Yeah, they just say your item has not been selected. It's like, okay, like sometimes I'll have an item to post and I'll be like, honestly, this is just gonna get rejected, so I'm not gonna waste my
100%.
I'm not gonna waste my time, and I'm just gonna post it on the other apps because I kind of now, because we've been using it for like almost a year now. We kind of know what items are gonna be selected and what aren't. So and then they also they always think that your pictures aren't real.
Yeah, which is annoying.
Yeah.
But it's also kind of a compliment as well, too,
It
right?
is.
So, like, kind of goes hand in hand. The one thing I do like about Vestiaire Collective, though, is that you don't have to pay for shipping, but they take such a large amount of the profit, which is kind of annoying. Another app that I like, but at the same time I just kind of iffy about, is eBay. Because I think there's like so much fraud that goes on to eBay where people are constantly lying, saying they didn't receive their packages and things like that. And there's so much competition on eBay.
And the thing with eBay in reference to that, they always side on the side of the buyer. Right?
100%.
Yeah.
But again, it's like we said, adaptability, and it comes with being in business.
Yeah.
So guys, below in the comments, let us know what are some of your favorite apps to sell on, your least favorite. Again, thank you so much for joining us here for the Business Pleasure Podcast. Hit us up on Instagram, Facebook, and just give us a shout. And remember, leave a like and share so we know that you care. Until next time, we'll see you guys later.
Thanks. Bye.